just in case it still gets captured anyway. But take it away.
Right. And welcome everybody to another episode of Ninja Banter with the Less Than Stealthy Ninjas. It is your boy Cosmic Boss and Scooter Kruger in the building. We also have Aranya Miss backstage, keeping everything going. And we have a very special guest tonight. Our first ever interview. We have John from the Houston Horror Film Fest. He is with us tonight just to give us a little interview, tell us about the Houston Horror Film Festival. On Instagram, he is known as Wrongturn Jonny. And so, welcome, John. How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good, man. Appreciate you joining us tonight.
Pretty good.
No worries. I appreciate the offer, man. Usually it's Tony and Scott, and I'll get who they are in a bit, but usually it's Tony and Scott doing these interviews. So appreciate the opportunity.
No problem. Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
Yeah, we are horror film fans here. Me and Aranya, especially, as well as
I'm like this.
Yes, as well as the fourth ninja, Xerxes, who is not here tonight. But Scoot is he's the whippersnapper among us. So
yeah,
he's not as versed. He's not as versed in the genre, but he has some favorites in there. So but yeah, so go ahead, tell us about yourself and the Houston Horror Film Fest.
So I am John, known as Wrongturn Jonny, Kick Monkey, a little bit of everything. I do the merchandise for Houston Horror Film Fest. We do 5 markets a year, anywhere from 30 to 50 vendors, 5 to 8 celebrities. We do that, like I said, five times a year. We do one 3-day film festival that is pretty big. It was actually pretty successful this last year or this year that we did our first event, because in 2019 COVID hit and it just kind of bombed everything out. So yeah, I mean, they're actually a good time. So
Okay.
In this, let me just put out my shout outs. So the creators of Houston Horror Film Fest is Tony, which is my cousin. It's Troy, and Troy does the film fest side. He watches the films, judges them. He's actually written a few films himself. And then Scott, Scott brings it all together. He puts the pieces of the puzzle, pretty much organizes it and makes it happen. So yeah, that's the party crew.
Okay. You know what? That almost sounds like our Aranya, how she likes to bring it all together.
Yes.
We got the visions.
Right.
Right.
Brings it all
She's
together.
glue.
Yeah.
All right. So you say one of the creators is your cousin. So that's how you got into it. Well, how did you get into horror? So like, what was like the first horror movie that you ever watched or that got you into the genre?
So I got into horror because one day I made the mistake of walking in and sitting down with my dad, and he happened to be watching Cujo. And, my dad was one of those guys that every time there was about to be a jump scare, he would make sure to holler at you, directly at you, to make sure you were jump scared. So, that was probably my first horror movie. I couldn't have been more than like 6, maybe 7. And then Poltergeist. Those two, if I was going to put a staple on my horror type of introduction, it's going to be Cujo and Poltergeist.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of like how I got into it. Like I walked in and my dad was watching the first Predator, and that's more sci-fi considered these days. But I was like, what are these dudes doing in the jungle? I was like, maybe 5, maybe 4. And it was like, no, you can't watch this. And so I sat down anyway, being defiant that as I was. And he's like, all right. And like, you wake up screaming, don't blame me. So,
right.
And I sat there and watched the whole movie with him. And then that was like the first one. But then I saw the first Alien, and that hooked me. Like, oh goodness. But yeah, that's like my favorite, like my second favorite horror subgenre. I love the sci-fi horror.
Okay.
But my number one would probably be like the creature features. So,
okay,
like Jaws, the original Godzilla, or like, what was it, The Relic, or The Host, The Thing, things like that. So, any favorite horror movies or subgenres in your that you like?
I'll go with I really like the demon factor of horror. Like I was a big Amityville fan. Poltergeist fan, like I said. I'm not a big slasher person. Like, I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of what do you call it? People that leave a lot of smack for this, but I wasn't big into Freddy or Jason. I mean, don't get me wrong, as a kid, there was plenty of scenes I was into, but as far as slasher goes, it wasn't my thing. I do like a lot of sci-fi. I loved Jaws. I loved Aliens, the first 2 at least.
Yeah.
There's some good genres, but The Omen, even coming out now, with the oh man, I'm drawing a loss, but the ones that have like film? Conjure, there you go. The ones that and that one is what actually brought me back into the genre, because of the fact that they used old school styles with not so many jump scares, but more of the sound and the music that they used. So if you take Amityville, for instance, that had a lot of like scary sounds. Exorcist, a lot of scary sounds, the high pitched squeaking and squealing, and the instruments that were used to do the music and stuff like that. So I really enjoy those type of films. Some of them get ridiculous. I really wanted to love. Shoot, I can't think of it right now. But there was one movie that I really wanted to love, and then the main character, the demon, came out, and he looked like someone from Star Wars, and I was just like, that ruined the whole thing for me. Like,
you talking about Malignant?
No. Man, I can't think of it. And as soon as I get off, I'll know right where it is. But
that's usually how it happens.
Yeah, there's just there's some good films out there. I grew up. Me and a friend of mine, we grew up going to to like Blockbuster, or actually back then it was MKM. That was a video store where you could rent VHSs. And we would get like full moon production movies. There was an old school movie called Trancers. They were all full moon. They're all B movies back then, So you found a horror movie that had like real good acting in it, which was rare. Or you found a B movie that had horrible acting, but had, Return of the Living Dead 3 was probably one of my favorites back in junior high. So
yes.
But yeah, those are my things. I like those zombie movies, zombie flicks.
Oh man, that is me and Arania's, like, one of our favorite things to discuss is zombie movies. Like our favorite, most recent zombie film is Train to Busan, but the one we always quote is Return of the Living Dead 1 and 2, because specifically in the first one, the zombie that comes out the first barrel, how juicy he looks all the time.
For that.
Yes. And it's just Like how he just goes brains, because I think that was the first one where all the zombies were just like actively going after brains instead of just eating the people.
Yeah, dude. So, but it was so far beyond its time, right? Like that was it truly is a classic. Zombie films are one of my favorites. I can't say that I'm a fan of series. Walking Dead was not my forte. But my some of my top zombies would have been Return of the Living Dead or Night of the Living Dead. Those type of films. Anything by George A. Anything by George A. Romero is pretty standard. I'm not gonna lie, dude. I love Zombieland. It's funny to me.
We do too.
It is hilarious to me. I can watch that all the time, and that's probably what my kids would probably say that their first movie that I had them watch, kind of by accident, kind of by purpose, was the original It with Tim Curry. So that one got them. That one got them pretty good.
I was about to ask you, how did that go over? Like, how did that go over?
Well, let me just tell you, I was that dad that just was like, hey, you want me to call It, and actually had a picture of him on my phone just to make him behave. So I'll probably get a lot of lost followers for that one too. But if you know me, you know me.
Hey, if it works, it works.
Hey man, look, I'm telling you.
I got a story like that. My mom does not believe me to this day. When I was a kid, they would take me. Well, I was going to a daycare as a kid while my parents were at work when I was too young to go to school, or even like continued after school. I had to go to this daycare, and there was this place over in here in Houston in 3rd Ward, and basically when the kids acted up. And no parents believe this to this day because they have not been sued or like been confronted about it. But one of the workers would go backstage, and we never knew it was coming when we wouldn't listen to the attendants and so forth. They would come out in a full Jason Voorhees get up with a fake machete. That we were children. We didn't know it was fake at that time. And, like, scared the crap out of us all the time. Like, we were lined up against the walls, climbing on each other, running. My mom to this day does not believe me. And when I told Aranya this story, she was just like, yeah, I don't know if I believe y'all either. Like, this is like the 90s, early 90s. And like, who was gonna believe anybody like that or doing something like that back then? Now that would get recorded and put everywhere. But yeah,
right.
But oh man, like zombie movies like Zombieland. I love Shaun of the Dead.
I can't forget about that. That's a great movie too.
Right, and so it's like, but like It, I love the Tim Curry. Love Tim Curry. Got to take a picture with him in Dallas at the horror con there a couple years ago. Love the new It. I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Love that one. But Aranya, I love backstage. Ronnie cannot look at a clown. She cannot. Like, it took her, I think she said like 4.5 hours to watch the 2017 It, just part one, because she had to stop it so many times. But she cannot do clowns. Is there anything
let me write
in
that
horror
down.
movies that you?
Yeah, I mean,
let me write that down. Dress as clown on.
If you really want to get her, clown, and I'm pretty sure she gonna fight us both for saying that information.
Oh yeah, she gonna fight us both for giving out that weakness.
Clown.
Is there anything like in horror that you don't do or that you're scared of?
I think it would have to be more like real life situations. Like as a kid. I think that's why Cujo stands out the most, is because as a kid you had loose dogs. Back then we could walk the streets at night, and most of the time we weren't coming home until it was night. So them loose dogs would chase you on your bike or just running. So I think anything that sits sits with the more realistic side of things, or things that would catch me off guard, right? You have situations like I'm not a big like I love gore, but I'm not like I think that's true to life, right? Like Tourista, that movie where they go to the island and they get drugged and then they just start getting like, I mean, that shit happened, you know?
Yeah, you know, I always equate that with certain things because, like when you said, when you watch movies like that, you think to yourself, that couldn't happen, could it? Then you will hear a random news story and you be like, oh my God. Like, oh my God. Like it might not happen exactly the way the movie portrayed it, but it happened. Somebody took a vacation, they were snatched from their vacation, wasn't seen again. And you're like, oh no. Oh no.
Exactly.
And you'd be like, and then of course, then you start watching these movies. So I'm never going to that island. I'm never going to that city. I'm not going to that country.
Right. Like I'm not gonna lie, I'm a little scared to go to Australia. It's on my top 5, but Australia looks like like you're gonna die.
Wolf Creek?
Nope. Wolf Creek?
Nope.
Wolf Creek is just a no. That is a no.
Nope.
Like, man.
Yeah. I mean, you know, like don't get me wrong. Like I think if I fear things, they are true to life. You know, you know, the situation with COVID, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how many times do zombie movies start like that? You know, it was a little something. Someone ate something. You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you know, so those are real life situations that scare me. You know, don't get me wrong. I like some real good jump fears in horror movies. They don't always get me, but sometimes they'll get me. You know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring this up because I know y'all are gamers too. One of my favorite games, and it came out for and you know. Y'all may cut me off right here because I don't really know what y'all play, but I play PlayStation. Okay, I'm a PlayStation guy, but
we are too. We are
okay.
Too.
Good deal. When Xbox first came out, and I just saw that they're bringing this back to PlayStation, but when Xbox first came out, they had this game called Fatal Frame. Y'all familiar with that game?
Nope.
Yes.
Nope.
Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly. I love that game.
Let me tell you. That game, like I remember I was I'm literally 19 years old, just moved out to my apartment, had nothing but a TV and a sofa and maybe a couple of card chairs, you know? Yeah. But I had that Xbox the day it came out. And I'm sitting there with headphones on playing this game, you know, going into like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. And I'm telling you, like those headphones were so good, it started to freak me out. Like, and I don't get freaked out, but I mean that I was like looking around and I mean there's some good video games that'll get you.
I don't do the horror like that personally. It really transcends to video games. Because the way I always say it to the group, I'm a bitch when it comes to horror games. I ain't touching them. But this one here, he made me play Dead Space back in the day.
I did.
I have never in my life moved a character so slow in my life. I somehow mastered to where I tilted the stick so slightly that the character was just moving at a stealth pace. It's like, I'm not turning that corner. I am not turning that corner.
Yeah, that's
around that corner. And that's the thing. Like,
I was gonna bring that one up because Dead Space is probably one of my favorite games, and I have to thank one of the guys that was at one of these resale shops. I went in there and I said, I need a game that's gonna scare the hell out of me, and he said, I got you. He brought out Dead Space. He let me play it a little bit, and I was like, sold. Man, again, here we go. 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, got some headphones on, some bad headphones, and I'm like, looking around because they got some background sounds on that thing that's just crazy.
The atmosphere on that first Dead Space was insane, especially because you could hear them when they were in the area because they were going through the vents, and then you look around and there's vent openings everywhere, and it's just like fuck.
Yeah, you're gonna get it. I don't know if y'all played it like on the hardest level.
I didn't know.
Man, dude, I'm like that is
one hit was just about all it took.
One hit was all it took. Hell, even the one on the phone, what was that? The original iPod. I put that Dead Space on my iPod, and man, even that one was pretty good. But yeah, Dead Space 1 is beyond my favorite game as far as horror goes. Don't get me wrong, I'm into the newer games too. You have oh shoot, man, Silent Hill was good. I mean, that's a classic. It's a good game. I really wish they would reformat for the new stations. Oh shoot, what's that one that you can multiplay? They have two y'all play it. And there's zombies on this island.
Dead Island or Dying Light.
Dead Island. Right, that was a good game. The second one, it was okay, but that first one was spot on, man.
Yeah. So the thing is with me, if I'm playing it with other people, it's fine because we can share in the horror together. But if it's me by myself playing it, that will probably be the best footage people can get because the amount of times I will pause the game and be like, okay, let's do it. And then you just sat there for 2 minutes, psych yourself up, go in the room, nothing happens, and you're like, man, then take 2 more steps. Ah, shit, God, no.
Right, like there was a game that came out in, I think it was 2013, 2014 that took the internet by storm, and that was the first Outlast. And I think that was like one of the first horror games where you couldn't fight back. So all you had was a camera, and I got Irania to play it because I had played it through. And when you start, you just basically pull up to the sanatorium, you try to find your way in, you crawl in through the window, and there's just 3 guys sitting at the chairs watching a static television. They don't move. So the atmosphere is already ramped up, and then you go through the hallways, you pass a dude on a wheelchair who then shuts the door behind you as you climb into the vent. And so the part very early on that made her stop playing, because I was at her house and we were playing, and she was like, nope, cut it off. When you drop down into the hallway, you walk into that room, and this body swings in front of you with a loud noise. She threw the controller to the floor and was like, nope, that's it. We done.
But what's funny? What's funny about that is Fatal Frame did a lot of that same action. Yes, because you did have a camera, you had to capture it. You had like hanging people coming down when you're trying to go through the stairs or the doorway, and all of a sudden they just drop out of nowhere. I was impressed with that that game. I was impressed with that more than I am with Dead by Daylight. No, is it Dead by Daylight?
Yes.
Dead by Daylight, the one where you're trying to fix the machines and get out?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dead by Daylight.
Yes, okay. That's Dead by Daylight.
Because I get that one and the one there's another game that's a lot like Dead Island, but it came out for PlayStation 4. And it's Dying Light. Yeah, now that I like that game too.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, your way out of any situation. Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, dude. I enjoy horror across the board, right? Yes. Even I've played, and I don't do this very often, but I played one game with a friend of mine, and he had a board game, and I don't recall what it was, but he had a board game, and it was pretty cool. Like, it wasn't like the Dungeons and Dragons where you make up the story. It was an actual board game, but I don't recall what it was.
Okay. Like, yeah, I love I love horror across the board. Like, I think like, speaking of Fatal Frame, I think it was Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly on the PS2 that I played, where like all you had was a camera. There was no weapons, no guns. Like, and the first part that got me was I had to crawl through this crawl space, and there was a ghost down there, and I had turned a corner and I heard a noise. I turned around and the bitch was just crawling at me like the Ring style, and I was like, you know what? Pause. Wait. Just hold on. Like, and like, oh man, I loved like that game ever since. But I think one of the first horror games that got me into horror was the first Resident Evil on the first PlayStation. When the dogs try to jump through the windows.
Cut the game off.
Man.
Cut the game off.
like, wait a minute. Like, why is this happening? No. Wasting all the bullets.
I mean, if we're gonna take it back to the first horror game, I might have to say, I would probably step it up from Castlevania, to Castlevania, and then your PlayStation 1. Mine probably wasn't Resident Evil. It was actually Silent Hill. I didn't get into Resident Evil until I met Tony, which is technically he's my kid's cousin, but he's my cousin. When I met him, he was into Resident Evil, and I got that game because of him. But yeah, Silent Hill was probably the first game that I had for PS1.
Okay.
And then, and I was still in school when that one came out. These other ones, I was already out of school. So me getting scared at 19, 20 years old was a pretty big feat, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned something earlier I want you to touch up on. What is it about horror shows you don't like as much as the movies and games and things like that?
Well, I think if I was to give you an example with The Walking Dead, I started out liking that show. I think when it started to get into like the love affairs and all of that, I was just kind of done with it right then. Like, I think they did real good on the zombies and the action sequence. But man, this person's falling in love with this person's falling in love with this person, and I'm just like, the story it was like watching a soap opera, but with zombies,
Okay. Makes sense.
And like I said, I might get some unfollowers for that one too, but it was overly hyped when I started watching it. And, it's just like a radio friendly type of show, right? Everybody's on it. So even if you want to be surprised, you're not surprised because some person is telling you what happened when you missed it, So that's pretty much what it is. I mean, a movie, you're going to get from point A to point B. You may have like a B.5, that draws you to the second one, but you get the whole story pretty much in one go versus having to tune in each time. With that being said, I did watch Stranger Things. I was okay with that. I thought that one was pretty good. I mean, there are some that I liked. The Haunting of
Hill
something
House?
Man.
Oh man.
Or
The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
Yes.
That one. I mean, that was good. I mean, it stayed true to the point. But when you have so many love stories inside of it, I get it. It's cool, and it brings a broader audience. But that just wasn't for me.
Makes sense. All right, John. Well, since we still have you here, why don't you go ahead and elaborate more about the Houston Horror Film Festival and everything that it all encapsulates and all
So,
of that.
Yes.
so, like I said, my cousin and his friend Troy thought this up, and they're usually better at talking about this than I am because they are the creators. But they thought this up, and we didn't have anything like that in Houston, um, and they really wanted to bring that to to Houston. People were going to Dallas, people were going to San Antonio. Houston just has a huge horror fan base, and
Yes.
it's a huge city. So there was
Yeah.
nobody taking advantage of that. So Tony and Troy got with Scott, and they just started creating this. Well, I'm not gonna lie. When my cousin first told me about it, he's like, "Hey man, we're gonna start this and yada yada yada." I didn't think nothing of it. He's like, "Hey, you want to do merch?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah," because I like to talk to
Mhm.
people.
Yeah.
And me and him used to go to a lot of concerts together. So I always used to joke, man. If I was this dude at the merch table, I'd be meeting all kinds of women. And so I ain't gonna lie. So yeah, I definitely I told him sure, man. And months went by, and I didn't think it was gonna happen. I just kind of tuned it out, and next thing you know, I started seeing him start posting stuff on Instagram, and things like that, and it started growing. It started growing, and like I said, COVID hit, and we had a phenomenal um, even a phenomenal watch for the film fest because they did end up having it virtually, the film fest,
Mhm.
and I don't remember how many films that they posted, but it was pretty good. I mean, there's a lot of talented independent filmmakers out there, and I actually met some of that talent at our first uh, film fest this past June. So a lot of it, we get vendors in there that are we got some phenomenal vendors too. Uh, all mostly this genre, horror. There's a lot of toys. There's fantastic artists. Man, I've been
Mhm.
scouting new talent at other people's markets and just saying, hey, you want to give us a shot? Because I mean, they're working hard, and I appreciate the homemade things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anybody can go to a store and buy Pops or Funko or whatever.
Mhm.
But if you have a store that has like 80s and 70s toys, okay, we'll bring you in. But if you're making your own items, then I definitely want to bring you in. So
Yeah.
there you can go to Houston Horror Film Fest or Houston Horror Events, and on Instagram or the actual webpage or even Facebook, and there is a place for vendors. They can sign up, get on a waiting list. Like I said, we don't do overkill. 5 markets a year, that's every few months.
Mhm.
Uh, and then 1 3-day festival, which is hard for some of the vendors to do 3 days. So sometimes we split that up between vendors. It makes it a little easier. It cuts the cost on some of them. Some of them, they may do 2 or 3 markets ahead of time, and they might not have the inventory. So we work with them, and like I said, we value our vendors for sure. When it comes to the film fest part, I'm to be honest, I'm not as familiar with that as I should be just yet, but I'm getting there. I
Okay.
know that there is a link that people can go to and submit their films, and then they'll be judged and watched, and an award will be given out at the last day of the film fest.
Hmm.
So we
Okay.
have screenings. We have I think this time we're only going to do 2 screening rooms because 3 was a lot to handle. There's photo ops in there. I mean, it is like any type of event that you've been to before. But we do get a lot of kudos for how family type oriented it is. Like it's not so commercial. It still has that. It's still, you walk in and you see me, I will sit there and talk with you until, like you're ready to go. Right. We just, we have a good time and we try to make sure everyone has a good time. At our last show, I remember seeing one girl in the corner. I don't know if she was crying because she got scared or what, but I called her over to my table, gave her a couple of stickers and said, look, you don't cry at my show. And, she smiled and she went on her way. We kind of have that feel, we want everybody to want to come to our shows and not feel like, we're overpriced or, not feel like, we're not paying attention to you. We're just there to do a job. No, we enjoy seeing these happy faces,
I like that.
But again, the film fest piece of it, they do screenings and a lot of times we'll have the people who produced it or did the filming and stuff like that there at the screening, and they'll talk about they'll talk with the audience about the film. We had some great ones last year. We even had Bai-Ling show her new movie there and do a Q&A with the audience. So that's a pretty significant part. To be honest, I'm not real familiar with other cons. I've been to maybe 3 by now, and but from what I've seen, I haven't been to one where they do screening like that. I think the closest I've ever come to was South by Southwest, right? So,
okay.
But as far as the guests, I'd really love to give y'all some hints, but I really can't at this time.
It's fine.
Not for the 3-day event. The 3-day event is really it's pretty far out there, and we're still working on things with that, but it really is a good time. Now, our 1-day markets, they come in like a storm and go out like a storm. Like, I mean, before we were having them at the hotel and we were doing events at the same hotel we were going to do the film fest at. Then we branched out to check out different venues. We've had it at a brewery in Spring, Fortress Beer Works. We've had it. Now we're going to have it at Wildcatters October 30th. We've got one coming up December. That's going to be a new venue that we haven't used before. But I'm really excited for the one in December. It's just it's the one I'm excited for the most out of the 5 that we've had. So
you actually said something I actually thought was pretty kind of cool about how some vendors are there one day compared to another day. I kind of like that idea because then it also encourages the people to come back, because it's like, hey, if you come back the next day, the same vendors won't be here. It will potentially be other vendors here, so you get to see different things as you come. So that is actually a pretty cool idea, because I've been to a few cons. Well, all of us have been to a few cons ourselves, and when you go 2-3 days in a row, you seeing the same thing 2-3 days in a row, and the only thing that's kind of changing is the cosplays. But other than that, it's like it's the same thing,
Yeah, I mean, and again, like I said, that's why our 1-day markets are not every month, right? Because there's nothing going to be excited if you keep seeing the same thing over and over again. Now, don't get me wrong. I love our vendors. We have a set few that are core vendors. started it from the beginning with us, and they'll be there, whenever they want to be. But the rotation is good for the business, right? It helps the people who can't commit that are normal vendors, and it allows other vendors to step in and see what we're all about, So it really is good. It's good, and I really would love to give shout outs to all my vendors, but I'm gonna leave it as all my vendors because I don't want to miss a name. I don't want to miss a name.
Smart.
So, but if there's one favorite vendor, it's myself. My merch table is usually where you're gonna get the most wisecracks, and I'm gonna give you a hard time, no matter what.
Okay.
So
I mean, y'all saw it firsthand, right?
Oh, I did.
I didn't take it easy on y'all.
No.
So just to make sure, come December, you have something clown related for Aranya.
Yes.
Oh
sure.
man,
Yes.
I might go and buy something that's just gonna sneak up.
I will. The group will suffer the consequences later, but for that moment right then and there, totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Oh, I'll see what I can come up with.
So,
I love a challenge.
So, with this being a horror specific event, how would you kind of pitch it to non-horror fans or people who are just kind of when it comes to horror?
So, and really, honestly, that's a great question. And the reason I say that is because we did a Q&A at Comic Palooza.
Mm-hmm.
And we did a Q&A at Comic Palooza, and Comic Palooza was this year was the first year I went, and I had never.
Okay. So I never. First year, how did you feel about it?
It felt a lot different than our show because of the genre, but it also felt commercial. Like you would walk by, and that's why I said, we get a lot of praise for it being family-like, but there's a lot of people, I would go and smile at some of the people, or just go and talk to them and say hi, and they just felt robotic versus personality, and I get it. A 3-day show is it's long. I've done it now, it's long, but I mean, it's very rare that you're gonna get robotic out of me. I mean, as long as I got someone making a Whataburger run for me and possibly a 6-pack run for me, I'll be good, man. But but honestly, if I was gonna sell it to someone who's not, and I have, as a lot of my friends, aren't real big into horror. So the way I tell them is, I was like, look, first of all, come hang out with me. That's the first thing. Come hang out with me and just check it out. I mean, most of the time these shows are free, I mean, not the film fest part of it, evidently, but sometimes these are free. Sometimes, it doesn't cost much to come hang out. You're gonna have a good time regardless. There's a lot of artists, and really the selling point to me, if you're not into horror, is the vendors, right? Everyone nowadays loves a market. These markets are going up everywhere. You can find one almost every day of the week. You have vendors that that you start getting used to seeing every day, and they become friends. But the other piece of it is, just because it's a horror film fest or a horror market, the guests that we have do other movies, right? Yes. I mean, I didn't know that that Leslie Easterbrook was in a horror movie. I only know her as Callahan from Police Academy.
Police Academy.
Right.
What horror movie was she in?
I think House of a Thousand Corpses, I believe. I didn't recognize her at all. people are gonna unfollow me for that too because I might have gotten it wrong. But I know she was in some horror movie, or I didn't know at the time. But when I found out she was going to be a guest, man, I got excited for Police Academy. You know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Deborah Foreman. You know, she's been in horror movies, but I knew her from Valley Girl and Real Genius. You know, so I mean, just, you know, there's some guests that you might know and be like, oh hell, you know, this is fantastic. I'm gonna get to meet this person that was in this movie that probably had nothing to do with horror, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I mean, there's a selling point, and like I said, I mean, it's a good time either way you look at it, right? You don't have to be into horror. You can just there you go. Look
The
at that.
devil's
See,
okay.
that's a horror question I wouldn't have asked y'all when y'all because I wouldn't have known that. But yeah, I mean, you know, I mean, everyone's looking for something to do. We've been trapped forever, it feels like, and so people want to get out. What better thing? I mean, how many people have been waiting for Halloween season? Like everything you see on Instagram now is, oh man, it's Halloween season. It's Halloween season.
Oh,
You know?
Aronia, she has her place decorated for Halloween.
Yep. She started in August.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, probably 5-6 years ago, I used to throw Halloween parties. My Halloween parties got pretty big. Now we're just doing it on a bigger level, a bigger scale, you know? It's huge now. And now it's not just family and friends and people that I don't know off the street. Now it's a whole bunch of people that I don't know off the street, but I'm not kicking them out of my house. Now it's everyone's house, right? So, but yeah, I mean, you know, so that's part of the vision too. And that's what I say when we stay up late, you know, late at night getting ready for these events. You know, I'm like, it feels like family. It feels like everyone's coming to a party. So, but yeah, I mean, you know, with that said, you know, any market's going to be a phenomenal market. I do try to promote a few other markets on my page that I find fun, that aren't horror related. So,
Okay.
But you know, it's kind of weird that you brought it up earlier. You will think, as big as this city is, you will think stuff like a horror fest would exist or something like that would be here because a coworker of mine, we always talk and we're like, it feels like Houston can be so behind on things at times because it's like, why don't we have A? Why don't we have B? Why don't we do C? And that is kind of weird that something like this wasn't already an established thing. Like that is very weird to me.
well, I think a lot of people have attempted it, but it's not something easy if you don't have the time and if you don't have the personality. And when I say personality, you don't have someone who is willing to actually take that time to map out a vision and sit there and work on it until it's perfected to run with it. You can't just pick up and run with something just because you have a great idea. I mean, you know,
Right.
Troy and Tony have mapped this out with Scott's help, and it was a lot bigger than we thought it was going to be. And you know, we never stepped on feet. We actually try to bring in other people on this, or I say they try to bring other people on with us, and they just felt like we were stepping on their feet. So I mean, you're always going to have your haters, right? But
Yes.
but I mean, you know, we got a lot, like I said, we got a lot of praise on our first market that we did. And it was mainly because we took the precautions of being safe because we were at that midpoint where COVID was just kind of, it wasn't fading, but it wasn't like in your face anymore. And man, a lot of the reviews we had were, we were safe. We did a good job at being safe, and we were taking temperatures, and there was a good clean rotation of people, not too many people at one time. So to have something like that perfected, it takes some time, and I think it really did help us or help them with the COVID thing, because it gave us more time to prepare and a market to practice. So yeah, man, I mean, it's I'm glad. I'm sure Houston is glad to have one too.
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, well, Boston and Aranya, they would normally drive to Dallas to go to a con. So I'm pretty sure
the horror con up there at the.
If one can happen here,
yeah,
I'm pretty sure
I forget
it
what
helps
the
out
name
a
of
lot
it
more.
was, but yeah, we drive to Dallas to go to the horror con that's there.
Yeah.
That's where I got to meet Tim Curry.
Yeah,
that's
right
where
there.
we got to see the Raimis, both Ted and Sam. We also got to see Ash from Evil Dead. So Bruce Campbell, national treasure. So there is a horror community here in Houston, and so it is a horror film fest is needed to bring those people together, because horror people are good people. We just we like our entertainment a little bit more bloody than the next person, but all horror is not bloody, but so it is much needed. Like Scoot said, Houston, for being the third or fourth largest city, depending on which metric you use, we have a lot of things, but we're also seem to be behind the ball on a lot of things. Like me and Aranya got in an angry rant like a week or so ago, because why don't we have a theme park anymore? San Antonio still has one, Dallas still has one, but Houston doesn't. Like that don't make sense to us. So it's like as big as this city is, as much people live here, and as much venues there are, and like as much vendors that are from here that still live here, like the opportunity is there. So like you said, it just took somebody with vision and the work ethic to put it together and put it out there. So we were glad to find this so we can go. So
yeah, I'm definitely welcome everybody to come out and check us out. I mean, like I said, we keep growing as a community, and the word keeps getting out there. That there is a Houston horror film fest and markets that are in Houston, and you don't have to drive to other parts of Texas or out of state. Now, don't get me wrong. Frightmare is, from what I understand, the godfather of horror cons, right? So, I've got nothing nothing but nice things to say about that. But Houston did need something, and I think as we continue to grow and get better, that our name will start being out there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And before we wrap this up, we're gonna ask some fun questions about horror and horror related things. I'm gonna go ahead and start it off because we recently did this on a recent podcast. If you had to say, what would be, off the top of your head, top 5 favorite horror movies of all time?
Cujo, Poltergeist, Exorcist, Monster Squad, because I liked watching that with my kids. And it.
Okay.
Those probably would be my favorite. I would have to say Amityville is really is up there. Like most of the movies that I talked about are up there. I'd love to throw some zombie movies in, but the ones that have that are true to my heart are the ones that got me as a kid, because those are the memories I keep, watching it with my dad or things like that. So So yeah, off the top of my head, those are the ones.
Okay. If you could be any horror movie killer / monster, who would it be?
Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Really?
It's one of my diehard favorites. It's one of my diehard favorites.
Love that.
Like,
That's probably my favorite old school Universal monster movie. I love the werewolf. I love werewolves are my favorite monster, but Creature of the Black Lagoon is really a phenomenal monster. Like, he's just one of my favorites. Yes.
Okay.
That's who I would be.
All right. Next question. What would you consider the most overrated horror movie killer or horror movie in general?
Well, after seeing Halloween the other day.
Wait a minute. Now, we haven't seen it yet. We're going this weekend.
I'm not. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, look, the funny thing is, my brother told me the same thing.
Like, I mean, there comes a. If I'm being honest, it would have to be the Freddy versus Jason. Like, that is just ridiculous to me. I couldn't do it. I went into that theater and I walked out of the theater like, what the hell did I just see? So it was good, but I think it's ridiculous. There goes 5 more followers.
All right. As a kid, what killer or monster you was the most afraid of?
The clown in Poltergeist. The clown in Poltergeist. I mean, you got to understand, that movie came out. I was, like I said, 5 or 6 on that one. 5 or 6, maybe 7. But I'm pretty sure I was about 5 or 6 around that time.
Okay.
Well, not in theaters, when it came out on like cable.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that clown.
Any horror related questions you can think of?
Let's see.
You know what? I have another one. If you could star in any horror movie, what would it have been?
Oh, wow. Now, do I pick ones with the hot girls, or do I pick ones that I would just like to be in? Jeez,
you can pick whatever you want to pick.
Whatever you want. Oh.
I honestly think, to be honest, man, I may be a good fit in Zombieland, but I would have to say I would like to have been in you brought up a good point. Shaun of the Dead is a really, really good movie. Like, it is funny. Simon Pegg is probably one of my favorite actors. So I would have to say that. But with that being said, let me just give a runner up, because I would probably have killed to be in wow, why does this happen to me? Tarantino, vampires.
Dusk Till Dawn. Okay.
Yes. I wouldn't mind being in. I would fit in that one. I could do that.
Yes. Oh man. With the great Tom Savini. Oh man.
Dude, yeah. I would like to have done something like that.
Like, for me, I don't know if I could have did From Dusk Till Dawn, because I would want it to be a horror movie that I know I can survive. Like, because like, I don't want to go in and it'd be like, you have a chance to die, and they'd be like, well, I'll stay here. So Shaun of the Dead would be up there for me, because anytime you can fake being a zombie and get away with it, I can survive here. But oh man,
I'll tell you, I got something for y'all. So just because you had just mentioned about not being able to survive. So what are your thoughts on like that series with Jigsaw? What are your thoughts on that? Yeah, well, yeah, Saw.
Okay, so I love the Saw movies. I haven't seen Spiral yet. I love the Saw movies.
Same.
The situations with Saw, depending on which traps he puts me in, I feel I can survive. But at the same time, I will never put myself in a situation to get captured by Jigsaw.
Look, I love life. I understood your message, sir. I understand your message. I love life. but he said, the traps. If it's one of Jigsaw's traps, if I was forced to, which you would be, I think I could get myself out. Now, if it's one of his underlings traps where they just put people in all kinds of shit, like I'm not diving into a pit of needles looking for a key. That is not happening. I'm not reaching into acid trying to grab a key when I know my ribs are hooked up already. Like, there's no way out of those traps. But if it was one of his, like, what was the first one with the bear trap on those girls' head?
Yeah.
Oh, like, I'll do what I got to. But, like, no. But, like, you ain't got to, like, you keep the pig lady over there, sir. I love life. Look, I'm happy. Like, so, I don't need to be here. But I think,
I think kind of like what he hinted on, like, for instance, if it's one of Jigsaw's things, because like he said, Jigsaw gave you a chance. If it was like, oh, you got to drain some of your blood, how much do you need, and what will give me the most? Because in my head, we all know we got to go at some point. It's certain ways I don't want to go. And when you see some of the ones in Saw, you'd be like, I don't want to be stumbled upon a crime scene and I'm just splattered all on the wall. Like, no. Like, I don't know. Let me have a little bit of dignity with my death, not just splattered everywhere. Or just my body parts just all no.
Like what was I think it was Saw 4 or it might have been Saw 5 where the opening trap was, I think they were in like this public square and it was two dudes strapped to a table and the chick up there and it was a reverse pendulum. And it was like, if the dudes worked together, they lived. If they fought against each other, it was one of the dudes were gonna die, and the chick and the other dude was gonna live. And it was like, look, man, I'm trying to get out of here. What say you and me say, fuck the hoes and just walk on out of here? Like, look, let this time to tick down. Let it chop her up, and we gone about our business. Look.
Well, remember that's what the other dude said to her after they kept trying to cut each other. He looked at him and he was like, "Fam, this bitch ain't worth it." And he was like, "You know what? You're right."
Like, there's not a lot of smart people in horror movies, but when there is, I cheer those on. I cheer them on. Like, oh man, because you gotta be smarter. Like, no. I'm like, if there's a chance for me not to fight as hard, like, look, fam, let's take the easy way out. Like, come on, let's just go. Look, I'll buy you a drink. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah, I just, I liked them when they first came out. I thought they were great. After a couple, I was just kind of like with man, I just draw blanks, man. This is what happens when you get old, my friends. This is what happens when you get old. But Final Destinations, right?
Oh man,
Final Destination. Okay. That's it could happen. Some of that could happen.
Yes, I would agree with that. Like those first two Saw films, pretty damn good. 3 onwards, iffy. But Final Destination, same thing. Those first two, especially that second one, like. You don't even have to have seen that movie, but everybody knows not to drive behind a log truck. Like,
Right.
No, like, I see a log truck. It's like, well, number one, why are you here? We don't have log cabins here. Like, gone somewhere else.
The beauty with Final Destination movies is that they do all of this planning and plotting to escape death, and the way they die would have been a lot better. I mean, the way they die from death getting them and what they could have did in the original death was like, you know what? maybe getting hit with that log wouldn't have been so bad.
Right?
So they get pretty messed up. And I've seen every Final Destination movie at least twice. And it's like, they get pretty messed up in those movies. And you're like, you know what? Maybe me blowing up in an airplane wouldn't have been so bad.
Right.
I could have just dealt with that.
Right.
There might have been a chance of survival in that airplane versus a pane of glass falling straight up on you. Right?
Exactly.
Oh man, that or the elevator or like what was the one in the third one that looked pretty survivable where the nails from the nail gun just get into your hammer?
Yeah.
Like them nails weren't that long. Like a quick trip to the hospital. Like now you just got some new piercings. So man, but it's just some of them. It's like you were better off just taking the L on the first round.
Right?
It is better just to be unidentifiable than, or like what was the one with old buddy got smeared like peanut butter on the subway? That he got sucked out the window and he just got smeared on the wall.
That was the end of 4.
Oh
man.
But
those were pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a minute to watch those, but they ended up being not too bad.
Yeah,
right.
I'm actually surprised there hasn't been a reboot of the series yet. So, like, I've been kind of waiting for it.
Right.
Oh man.
All right, Johnny. Before we wrap it all up, you being the guest, we'll leave the floor to you. You can tell them where to find you on social media. You can plug what you need to plug. Let them know.
So,
the floor is yours, good sir.
Actually, just wanna re-thank y'all again. I appreciate y'all. Finding humor in me at San Antonio. That's the first promotion that we had done that was in person. We had a really great turnout. I met some really great people. So I wanna personally thank y'all for that and the little snippet of the in-car what's that
Car Chronicles reviews?
Yeah, dude. I like those. I think those are great. I think that's a phenomenal idea.
Boss and I will be doing one based on the pop-up.
Oh, and there won't be a clown that just pops into that car with y'all. Oh man. Look, seriously.
That one is gonna be running.
She should have never said she wasn't coming to this one on the 30th. That's for sure. Oh man. But no, we have a market that is October 30th. It's at Wildcatters in Katy. That I can't remember the price, but tickets are online at you can go to Eventbrite. You can go to Houston Horror Film Fest website. There's a link there. You can catch us on at Houston Horror Film Fest, at Houston Horror Events. You can also catch them on Facebook. I personally don't have a Facebook. Some of those skeletons stay in the closet. The one at Wildcatters, I mean, we have a good lineup there. I don't have that off the top of my head. Like I said, coming into the call was a little late. I wasn't as prepared as I was planning to be, but
just go to the website.
Yeah, go to the website. There's a good lineup there. I do want to go ahead and put Troy's podcast out there. Dark Night of the Podcast. He's got a good lineup, good episodes. His content is phenomenal. It's from a different perspective, so definitely check that out. And then, like I said, we have another one. We have one more coming up in December. Can't give too many details, but those details will come probably a couple of days right after October 30th. It's going to be a good time, man. I definitely want to see y'all out there. Definitely come by my table. I'll hook y'all up a little bit. Definitely want to take you by my boy at Texas Devil Dust. He makes spices and stuff like that. And there
that's
goes the
right up
rest of
his
my
alley.
vendor. Yeah, dude. If
That's
you
right
if you
up
like
his alley.
spicy
Yes,
Chex
sir.
Mix, spice, all the spices,
Yes,
he's
sir.
right up your alley. Is a real good friend of mine. We got and we really have a lot of great vendors. I really wish I could name them all, and eventually I will. But right now I'm just gonna leave it with come out, see us, check us out, tell us what you think, tell your friends. And definitely, dude, we're gonna have to hook up because I might be getting on that PlayStation a little more now.
We
Okay,
there.
absolutely.
We
The
there.
more the merrier.
So
And look, even Aronya even put it as soon as it pops up. If it pops up, technology, right?
There it is.
oh yeah,
So,
technology. No, I appreciate it. And again, it's been a real pleasure. I enjoyed meeting y'all at the show at the MonsterCon. That's placed. That was put on by another friend of ours too. So it was great. It was great meeting everyone. I'm looking forward to meeting y'all again in person.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to
Likewise.
meeting you because I saw you posted some wrestling content. I don't know how much of a wrestling fan you are, but I did see you post wrestling content, and I was like, yeah, my kind of people.
So real quick, a little funny story about that. So my buddy, the Texas Devil Dust, he actually called me. He actually called me and said, "Hey, I'm going to be at this event," and really what he wanted was me to bring some of his stuff back to him, like some containers and stuff. No, I'm just joking. I'm just messing with him. But he was like, "Hey, I'm going to be at this event in Katy. It's a wrestling event. Come check it out." So I went out there and helped, because I always go and help him
Yeah.
sell stuff, right? So we went out there and look, man, I haven't watched wrestling in years, and I'm gonna say this was so entertaining that and there are people in our fan base that are wrestlers, like hometown wrestlers, right? And they try to get us to maybe have them perform for us.
Yeah.
So right now we've never had a venue that's been big enough to do that, but it may be a possibility in the future if when we get bigger. But yeah, it was enjoyable, man. Apparently they have this in Katy like once a month or something, or in November.
I'm gonna have to
So
get that information from you because I'll plug it later, but I might have to get that information from you.
all right, that'll work. But yeah, definitely appreciate y'all. This was fun.
Thank you.
It's my first podcast. I definitely enjoy, I enjoy horror movies, but man, let me tell you, I get on some of them video games, so we'll light it up.
Hey, Boss and I,
Absolutely.
if you've been seeing, we've been currently playing Far Cry 6, and the
Oh,
moments
dude.
we've been having in there have been just hilarious. Like the clips should be coming up soon, but
Yes.
we have been having a blast playing Far Cry 6.
Yeah,
And
I
just
didn't even realize it came
thinking-
out. That was one of the games that I have been waiting for for a while, and I didn't realize it came out on the 6th until I saw y'all's post, and I'm like, oh, dude, what? So yeah, I'm gonna have to get on top of that and catch up.
All right, Boss, where can the people find you at so you control them and whatnot and things?
So I can be found out at Kick Monkey. I think that's what it is. Man, I'm gonna tell you, just look up Wrongturn Jonny, and like you can tell, I usually promote like Houston Horror Film Fest, but so but if you wanna follow me, just give me a follow. I'm at Kick Monkey or and I have the logo of Houston Horror Film Fest with my character on it as the avatar. So but yeah, definitely again, man, much appreciation.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
And I will see y'all in 2 weeks, my friends.
Yes, you will.
All right, so
And I'll get that clown going.
oh, for sure. I mean, if you need more
Absolutely.
information, we will give you the deets. You know, never mind right now. We will
What the
give you
scariest kind of clown is.
We will give you the deets and make sure it'll be extra special for her. But Cosmic, where can the folks out there find you, good sir?
Y'all can find me with the other ninjas on at LessThanStealthyNinjas on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find me personally on Instagram at cosmic_nerdlife. As Scoot said, I am a bit of a troll, so everything you see on there is my personal views. And so yeah, that's where you can find me. Reach out. All of us are available. So, we'll see you soon.
All right. Well, of course, you know, you can find me, of course, with the ninjas. But as some people know, I do have another group, Tag, aka the Average Gamers. That's where we do our wrestling content. Shout out to Lip Dizzle and Jaeger Bombastic. Lip Dizzle just recorded a video earlier today. I think it's live on YouTube now about NXT last night. So, of course, you know, check us out with our videos and our podcasts on YouTube. And that's TAG-The Average Gamers. And we got Tag Me In, Hot Tag, all those things. It's usually NXT and AEW related content, but you can check us out there. And of course, like Boss said, always with the ninjas, we're gonna go live at any random times, but Friday, we should definitely be going live again with a part 2 to the horror theme episode we had last week. But this week we will have Tag and we'll have Planet Nico giving their horror giving
picks.
their answers to the horror questions we asked last podcast. So thank y'all for coming out. Thank you again to Wrongturn Jonny for showing up.
Appreciate you.
Support the Houston Horror Film Festival and everything they do, because it can only grow if we support.
Right. Exactly. Check them out now, today, tonight.
Appreciate y'all.
And until then, us ninjas, we're just trying to make our ninja village proud.
See y'all later.